Story 1. Get a big, strong dog to look tough, but they obviously can't handle it. I was at the veterinarian with my service dog and saw a man get dragged all around the room by his Great Dane. It wasn't even fully grown yet, and he obviously had no control over it. It didn't even have a proper collar, just a thick metal chain around its neck that was attached to another metal chain as a leash. It also wasn't spayed or neutered. The man asked me how I got my big dog to be so well behaved. When I said, "I trained him," he scoffed and said, "That won't work for my dog. He never listens." The look on his face when I calmly took out one of my service dog's treats, had his dog sniff the treat, and then easily got his dog to sit for the treat on command was priceless. Story 2. Guys who purposely rev their cars or have those enhancements added that make their car sound like it needs a new muffler. People who crank up the bass in their vehicle so that everyone within 100 feet is forced to listen to their loud music. Story 3. Bragging about how many times they have been in a fight or saying they can fight someone. You're not tough. You just have anger issues and need therapy. Story 4. Contrarians have got to be the worst form of edgy. Arguing just to get attention and playing devil's advocate, because both sides deserve to be fought equally, is not an exercise that everyone needs to partake in. Story 5. Insulting people and trying to put people down while claiming it's just them being brutally honest. People who use that excuse always like being brutal more than they like being honest. Talking from experience. Story 6. It sounds ironic, but those who try to tear down what other people are doing and go in depth as to why it's so cringe. Now, I don't mean just saying, "Oh, dude, that thing is cringe," because sometimes things really are just cringe. No, I mean the people who will see you wearing something like a black coat or white Air Force Ones, who then feel an incessant need to point out to everyone within earshot why you're a cringy poser who is obviously imitating some sort of established aesthetic to try and fit in or look edgy. It's like, listen, you're the one wearing a trilby and insisting it's a fedora. Shut up. Story 7. First, it was the Crow in the 1990s, and then it was the Joker in the 2010s and 2020s. There's always that guy who puts on the makeup, does the hair, and dresses up like them, thinking that somehow this makes everybody think he is as dark, mysterious, and brooding as them. Dude, you gave yourself away when you left the 7-Eleven with a Hot Pocket and got into your 2009 Suzuki Aereo. Story 8. When people act like they hate everything mainstream just for the sake of being different. Like, I get it, you do not listen to any music that more than 5 people have heard of, but if everyone is trying to be unique in the same way, is not that like the most basic thing ever? Just admit you love that one Taylor Swift song and let us all move on. Story 9. People who argue with everything you say just to be contrary, or say negative things about everything that you enjoy. No one needs that kind of negativity in their lives. Story 10. Had a kid in high school who would make the most unbelievable lies about how he toured in the Middle East and how he's killed terrorists because he was so badass. He would also just get way too into details about the killing. There was another kid who was supposedly a Russian spy. I suspect they were both trying to one-up each other in edginess, and it got out of hand. Story 11. Talk about how much they despise children. Like, cool, you had a bad childhood, we get it. Your jokes about punting a literal toddler into the sun for age-appropriate behavior make you look bitter and a little unhinged. I'm way too easily overstimulated to ever have children. I still understand and respect that they are people, and I don't brag that I hate them or think they should be banished from public spaces. Story 12. Making weed their whole personality and acting like it's some ultra-rebellious counterculture. When I see people wearing clothes or accessories that let the whole world know they are into marijuana culture, it always comes off as someone who thinks they're being edgy because there is nothing deep about them other than a weed habit. Story 13. When people say racist, sexist, or hurtful things on social media platforms to try to sound edgy, funny, or contrarian, you just know in real life they hate themselves. Story 14. People obsessed with body counts. I'm older and not dating, so it doesn't affect me really, but every time I hear guys with microphones screaming about women's body count, I cringe so hard. Just say you're intimidated and are frightened you might have a small one and won't live up to them and go. You don't have to date her. You're mad about your own insecurities, not what you perceive as hers. Story 15. Acting tough in the gym. Walking in with headphones on, looking angry with imaginary lat syndrome, only to occupy a squat rack for an hour and a half on the supposed 4 sets of 39 squats, only workout they are doing. The same person grunts loudly and slams weights around like they are a bodybuilder, while being overweight and having terrible form. Or the opposite people who dance around to music and rap like they are in the final scene of 8 Mile. Just go to the gym, exercise, and listen to music. Sit down between sets and rest. That's what the rest portion is for. It's not a social competition, and I'm laughing at you. Just be normal. We don't have to be extreme, either acting tough or being overly goofy. It's strange. Story 16. Being mean towards cashiers. You're not cool. Nobody thinks you're cool. I'm just trying to get through my day to get paid to afford my apartment and food. Story 17. Bragging about your sex life or virginity. I mean, have as much or as little sex as you want, all the power to you, but bragging about it in either direction is really cringe. Story 18. There were a few high school students in my state who thought it would be a good idea to spell out a racial slur and pose for a picture. Their actions led to the cancellation of homecoming for their entire school. Story 19. Talk negatively about God all the time. I'm not a Christian either, but I don't constantly talk about how much I dislike it. I don't. My friend has a friend who does that, and she has told me, for a guy who dislikes God, he sure does talk about him all the time. Story 20. Young people smoking tobacco. They are setting themselves up for a life of stinking addiction, followed by 5 years dragging around an oxygen bottle struggling to breathe, followed by a miserable death. Guaranteed. Story 21. Kinda specific, but metalheads who insist other popular music isn't as good as their favorite bands. This almost always comes from people I know who are deep into metalcore bands that are super popular in their genre, and they always hate stuff like Taylor Swift or other popular genre artists. It's okay to enjoy catchy pop and metal. It's even okay if you don't like any other genres besides metal, but music is so individual, and it makes no sense to act like only your favorite bands are truly good at making music. You aren't cool and metal for hating everyone else's music. You're acting like a teenager. Story 22. I've got two I hear a lot, often from the same people. I have a really dark sense of humor, you wouldn't get it. I find school shootings really funny, and I make a lot of jokes about stuff like the Holocaust that offend sensitive people. See also, I'm an attention-seeking person who hurts people's feelings because I don't actually know how to make anyone laugh. And there's a high probability I'll get really upset if you crack a joke at my expense. I'm a psychopath or sociopath, like I'll do messed up things to anyone. I don't care, people are just pawns to me. They don't understand how the world works or how much better things would be for them if they open their eyes like I have. I'm not another cog in the machine. I'm smarter. I'm better. I'll use anyone. I'll use my own friends because they're sheep too. I'm the only one who gets it. See also, I don't know what a psychopath or sociopath is. I'm just a person trying to hide my vast insecurities by role-playing when in fact I probably have trouble asking a waitress for a refill. Also, if anyone asks me when I got diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, I'll argue back that I don't have autism. Thank you very much. Story 23. People who create YouTube shorts about Alpha Sigma personalities and try to emulate and glorify the silent, strong anime or movie protagonists often come off as lacking personality and being purely cringeworthy. Two good examples are Patrick Bateman from the film American Psycho and Sasuke Uchiha from the anime Naruto. Story 24. Ignoring or outright dismissing the good in people. People do so many kind, selfless, wonderful things for each other. Little things like holding the door for the next person, and big things like marching against hatred and bigotry. Humans do so many good things, and people who can't get around the idea that they are doing all this secretly for selfish reasons, or that it just doesn't happen at all, make me crazy. Especially because they're a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're snarky, dislikable misanthropes who hate people, and then they get all their ideas validated when people aren't kind to them in particular because they've flaunted that. Story 25. Misuse or overuse trendy terms, like ableist. It's unfortunate because it actually prevents change. Walking around calling people names every day makes other people defensive. Why not simply open up a discussion? If I don't like something that a coworker is doing, I don't yell, "You're being wrong." Instead, I engage them in a discussion. People aren't likely to change if you call them names. I have a new boss who is a narcissist. He never provides positive feedback. Instead of calling him a narcissist, I asked him to provide some positive feedback when our team does things he likes. Guess what? It worked. Story 26. Talk about the evils of colonialism, but don't see the irony that their country can send a plane to any Arab country at any time whose ruler is a complete puppet and bomb the civilians. Until you truly respect the humanity of other people and the sovereignty of their country, then you're not free of blame at all if you think it all had an end date. Story 27. I tell it like it is. I'm not politically correct. You're all just haters. Translation. My entire personality is starting fights with people, then acting offended when someone takes the bait. Story 28. Stupid shock value, dark humor jokes are just either actual bigotry or just someone being an asshole to get a rise out of people. There's a difference between dark humor and being a complete asshole. That and the whole "I'm better or cooler than you because I was exposed to gore or shock sites at a young age" are both very high school to me. Story 29. No one knows the pain I feel. This same person also lives in a perfectly fine, middle-class household with non-abusive parents and has no struggle. Of course, people who say that can always be speaking the truth, but it is typically those who are silent or look normal that are the most pained. Story 30. I've seen adult men try to flirt by acting like they're moody bad boys. Isn't that something you should have grown out of when you were still in high school? I know there's bound to be some adults still attracted to that, but it's just weird to me. They come off as emotionally immature men who peaked in high school, so they never stop acting like angst-ridden teenage boys with main character syndrome. Story 31. Put a dictator or evil person in history as their profile picture and their name as said person. Those who do that are apathetic, stuck in the past, and are just dumb. Story 32. People who split their tongues and get crazy body modification surgeries. I don't know if they are necessarily trying to be edgy, but it does freak me out. Story 33. Flying flags from their trucks or their Nissan. I love my country. I am beyond disgusted by how flags are stolen from their true intended purpose to degrade, intimidate, and harass others. Story 34. Any joke that makes fun of a minority group. Call me a woke bitch or social justice warrior or whatever, but edgelord humor is truly the cringiest humor I've ever encountered. Story 35. Trying to act cute when they're literally just acting like toddlers, and people who act like babies or toddlers around their partners. Tell me I'm not the only one, please. I absolutely hate those kinds of stuff. If no one hated it, I'm probably dead. So cringy and weird as can be. I don't get why people do those toddler things. Story 36. Specifically regarding the United States elections. Some people pretend they are undecided. I'm convinced at this point that these individuals enjoy the attention they get by claiming that both sides are just as bad and that they can't make up their mind. Or when they say they will cast a protest vote to teach one side a lesson. Story 37. The constant political vitriol and comments associated with the hatred for the other party. Example. On another thread, what is one thing you hate the most? Republicans. Come on now. And you all know it goes on and on. Story 38. Women who dedicate their platform to tearing down other women and pushing misogynistic ideas and narratives because they claim to be just one of the guys. This doesn't only apply to women who promote alt-right beliefs to seek validation from men, like just pearly things. Women who act like they're too good to wear makeup, dress femininely, drink fruity cocktails, or enjoy all-girl trips and activities. While I understand not all women are into typical girly things, personally, I think leggings are the itchiest, sweatiest, most skin-irritating pants in the world. Having an attitude that you're better or so edgy and different just because you have more gender-neutral or masculine hobbies is incredibly annoying. Story 39. Chappell Roan comparing fame to having an abusive partner or whatever. Not all abuse victims are millionaires who could afford bodyguards, you ignorant person. Story 40. This basically sums up why I don't like South Park. You can have edgy and dark humor that's funny and pokes fun at things, but South Park just tries to be edgy to be funny. It ends up not being funny and is just cringe. Story 41. People who get all bent on religion act like they have something new to say. Yes, we understand you don't like something, But this topic has been discussed for thousands of years, and your new take is as old as dirt. Story 42. People who still physically fight others over trivial matters. It doesn't erase the past. The thing still happened. Also, anything involving politics where one side tries to get under the other's skin. Story 43. Bragging about how many people they have slept with. If they are not lying, which they probably are, that is just saying, I am an irresponsible person who cannot commit to one person. Or, I am a shallow person who thinks a person's worth is decided by the notches on the bedpost. Story 44. People who think it's rebellious and edgy to wear leather, spikes, dye their hair, wear goth makeup, rip tights, and have lots of piercings in their head do not realize that so-called edgy people have worn that uniform for decades. It's not edgy, it's just another uniform. Wear it if you like it, but it doesn't make you a unique rebel.